Today I am doing something new and for the first time, and I am super excited about it. We are rendering lard. So we got a half a pig and we have a lot of lard. I tried to weigh it on my tiny little scales and it said like 14 pounds. So give or take there. So we'll see how much we get. Stick around for that. Are you excited?
Are you making faces?
Thanks to the world of YouTube and books and all of that, I feel confident doing it for the first time. Am I a little nervous? Yes, absolutely. But hey, there's a first for everything. And this is something I've been wanting to do for a long time. Let's get the lard out. It's a lot. My messy fridge.
Can I help cut it up?
So we have our 2 bags of lard, sharp knife, cutting boards, a big bowl to put it all in, and then if there is like big pieces of meat that I find on it, or I'm gonna cut it off and put it in there, give it to our chickens. You're gonna take the piece of lard
and cut it into slices.
Cut it into slices.
And then
kind of think about how you're like cutting a potato.
Yeah. And then cut it over again. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I get
so
that.
like we're trying to get like 1-inch pieces.
Is she doing it? Oh my gosh, this is harder than it looks. Okay. Wait, you can push down.
Some of it might be like slightly frozen.
Push down on the top. Yeah, like this is pretty frozen right here. Wait, you can push down on the top.
So you just gotta get in there a little bit more and then just push down. Okay, and then pull it through with your tip and see how it gets there. I know, Carson, you want to help, but this is something that you're still learning knife skills. And it's not, it won't work. It won't work with the kids' knives. So when I'm straining it into jars, you can help with that part. Rachel and I are gonna go through and cut up all of this fat, put it in our bowl. I'll turn you all on a time lapse so you can watch how we do that, and then we'll go from there. I found this piece, and you can see like that brown part in there.
Oh, it's nice.
And over here. This is like obviously pieces of meat. So I'm gonna cut that out so it doesn't like completely flavor my lard and make it taste like pork a lot. So here is another piece. I'm gonna be cutting this off because this is clearly meat. Again, we don't wanna add any kind of like really porky flavor to our lard. So big pieces like that I am cutting off. But like little specks and stuff, I can't cut all of that off. So for the big pieces I am. Everything is chopped up. And look at this, y'all. Look at all of this fat. So let's see what it renders down to. The process that I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna take this fat and I'm gonna turn it that on low. I'm gonna add a little bit at a time to get some oil going in the bottom so I don't like scorch it. And then put more on and just slowly stir it like every 30 minutes and render it down that way. I will show you the process. Again, this is a first for me. So doing this just based on YouTube videos, books I have read, talking to different people, and this will be my first try to see. I did cut off quite a few pieces of like the meat just because there were some big chunks in there. It wasn't like a solid slab of meat. So I didn't want to have huge pieces in there and it give it like a super porky flavor. There are still some bits in there, but from what I've seen and read, that's pretty common. If it turns out to be like a really porky flavor lard, honestly, it's not that big of a deal to me because I'll still use it for sauteing like potatoes. Oh my goodness. Oh, that's gonna be so good. Like sauteing veggies, frying up eggs, basically anywhere I would be like cooking, but I might not use it for baking. But if it turns out to not have like a super porky flavor, I will use that for baking. So let's get this pot going and go from there. This is where you probably really have to know your stove. For me, low is not like super low, so I have to do that. I'm gonna let this heat up a little bit and then throw some of that in. Okay, also, I just have to, because I'm excited about this. I got this, I found this at Goodwill. It says Drippins. Found this at Goodwill like a year and a half ago in anticipation for this exact thing. So I could have lard at my disposal for cooking. Exciting stuff. I'm gonna put in just a first layer to get some on the bottom here. Just a little bit of oil going. This is a 14-quart pot. We'll see if I can fit all of it or if I'll have to do 2 rounds. Just a layer on there. We're gonna start with that. While that is getting started, I got my jars loaded in the dishwasher to wash. I was recommended to use wide mouth jars because you're gonna be spooning this out of here. It's gonna be solidified. And so as you get to the bottom, it's much easier to use a wide mouth jar than a regular mouth jar. So I don't know if I'll need all these. Maybe I'll need more. We will see. But I'm gonna get these started. We're gonna wash them and sanitize them. And they should be ready to go once all of this is rendered down. These are already starting to create some oil. You can see the pinkness is already starting to go away. This has created a good bit of oil on the bottom and is starting to break down. So I'm gonna go ahead and add the rest of this. I'm just gonna stir that and get that going. And just keep repeating this process for a little bit. This is breaking down really nicely. So I'm gonna go ahead and pour this in. I think this pot is gonna hold all of it because as it's breaking down, it's really condensing a lot. I'm gonna make sure to stir it like every 20 to 30 minutes, getting down at the bottom and really bringing that up. So nothing like scorches down there or burns. I'm also gonna keep my heat on super low. That way nothing burns. This has been on the stove for an hour now on very low heat. And you can see there's quite a bit of fat, whoop, fogging up, rendering down there. We are 2 hours in and there is a lot of fat that's rendering down. Been stirring it. It's on very, very low heat. It's going good. Now what I plan on doing here shortly is when a little bit more renders down, I'm gonna start ladling that into some of my jars. Different people that I have watched and read books about say that this first rendering is a little bit more of a pure form, and as it cooks down more, you're getting more of that like pork flavor, I guess. So I'm gonna try it and I'm gonna put a couple jars and I'll just mark a 1 on them for like the first rendering, and then we'll keep going as long as it's rendering down. Hour 2. I'm ready to take my first dipping from this, the first rendering as some would call it. So I'm getting one of my jars, a couple of my jars out of here. We're gonna put them over there. So I have my funnel, I have this mesh strainer, and I am putting a coffee filter in here just to make sure I'm getting all of the little bits out. And in case this would rip, that's why I have that there. And if we get some of the pieces in the filter, that's okay. We'll just dump them back in. See if that drains. I don't know if this is the right coffee filter for it. No, it's... I think I need a regular coffee filter, which I don't own. I'm gonna try this instead. I hadn't wanted to use this one because it's kind of ripped. So when I'm working with this, I have to make sure that side stays up. but I think this will strain through better. Yes, much better.
This sample that will not work.
Now this lard is so hot that it will self-seal when I put a lid on it. I'm gonna wipe that rim though. I'm gonna use some vinegar just because of the fat. I don't know if water would take that off. So I'm gonna put my lid on and my ring.
Mom, you have a whole box of them.
That is hot.
Mom, you have a whole box of them.
Okay. And so that one, the lid is on. The lard is so hot that this lid will self-seal. And then I'll talk about how I plan on storing that. But let's keep going. I ended up taking 4 pints from that batch, but I'm gonna set those over there to start setting up. And you can see I did leave some of the fat in there, so that way that just continues. I don't want to scorch it. We're gonna let that keep going. We are at the 5-hour mark, and there is definitely a lot of liquid. So I did start straining some more jars, starting a second row here. I'm gonna label these 2, get as much as I can here, and then see how much further I can render down where the cracklings are really tiny and brown. So this is hour 5, and we got lots of liquid. This first row here was the very first that I drained from the pot, and you can see the color is already changing and it's getting white. And then this is the one that I just pulled at hour 5, these here, and I did mark it with a 2 on the top, and this is 1. So first rendering, second rendering is kind of how I'm keeping track. And this is, like you can see, it's still cloudy and yellowish, but this first round, after just a couple hours, is turning white. And then we have the remainder of it in here. You can see that those bits are starting to get brown. There's still a lot of oil lard rendering in there. So I'm thinking I'll probably still end up getting 3 or 4 pints out of here. We'll keep it going. I'm officially done. Took me about 6 hours to do the whole process. And here is all my beautiful lard. And then we have the cracklings that are left in there. There is still some oil in the bottom, so when I dump these, I'll get whatever is in there. But we are gonna try these. I'm curious to try them. We had 14 pounds of lard, and we got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15 pints of lard. I put a lid on top when it was very hot, so all of these jars have self-sealed. This is shelf stable now at this point for 6 months on your shelf. You can put it in your fridge, it'll last a little longer, or you can put it in the freezer, it'll last for up to a year. So my plan is to keep 1 pint out at all times, just to use when we need it. Some I'll stick in the fridge so I can easily pull them out to replace that, and then some I'll stick in the freezer. And we'll kind of see how long this lasts us, how far it gets us, but it is shelf stable at this point for 6 months on the shelf. So I'm pretty excited. Yay! It was a fun process. Thanks for doing a first with me in my kitchen. I'm excited to try this and all my things and see what I like. Until next time.